What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another initial reactions video. And today, we have two things to dive into. Number one, it sounds like a trade is going down. According to early reports from Pro Football Talk, a Za'Darius Smith trade to Detroit is currently expected to happen tonight or tomorrow. That was 5 hours ago. That was during the 1 o'clock window when we were live doing our pregame show. Lions just turned Lambeau Field into Ford Field with a 24-14 win because they had less mistakes, less penalties, and a lot more Jared Goff chance than Jordan Love chance. So let's get it started.
All right, now before we get too far into this video, I want to give a shout out to BetUS. Use promo code YouTube150 to get a 150% deposit match on your first deposit or 125% deposit match on your next two deposits up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. Over here on the website, we can see you got Monday night spread. It's 9.5. I like Kansas City to win this game. Last time I bet the Bucs, that thing got out of hand. I don't think the Chiefs could do that, though. So I like the Bucs here to cover a 9.5 point spread, though I do have the Chiefs winning this one. Speaking of the Chiefs, 14.5. That is their win total. They haven't lost yet. They're set at 14.5. So you can bet on things like this. NFL futures of a 14.5. Do they go over? Do they go under with this kind of number? It's BetUS, from casino games to just content in general to all the different sports you could ask for. That's the spot to be. YouTube 150. Now let's get back to the video.
And welcome everybody to a video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we are back with another initial reactions video. You could tell I got some good energy about this one. I got some energy, man, because we got two things, man. We got to talk about a trade too, but we'll get to that in the second portion of this video because it's not officially official, and I don't want to do too much with this, but it sounds like it's going to happen, so I definitely have to touch on it, though we've talked about it multiple times. And if you want more of a deeper dive breakdown, I have a video on Za'Darius Smith I did about 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, talking about Za'Darius Smith, and it was about an 8-minute segment just talking about Za'Darius. So if you want to check that out, there's clips over there from older games. Definitely go check that out. But I'll start off with this Lions wins first because this was a 24-14 win that was incredibly comfortable. After the first drive of the second half, it was 24-3, and this game kind of just felt like it was over, and the Lions quickly got the Green Bay Packers playing catch-up mode, and in a game with these kind of weather conditions, the injuries that they also had, and kind of the messed up snaps that they had throughout the game, as well as Jordan Love maybe not being able to bend down and cleanly grab some of those, Lions were quickly able to take control in this game, and we got to talk through it, man, because number one, the prediction wasn't that far off. I had 24-17 Lions. It ended up being 24-14. I underestimated this Lions defense, and I brought this up already once, but someone said it in the chat of our pregame show today. If the Lions hold the Packers under 20, Aaron Glenn should be coordinator of the year. I don't know if that's an award or not, but it sounds like it is an award. I think it's something like that. And I was like, yeah, he absolutely should be. It has been an across-the-board unit thing. We've talked about the man coverage ability for weeks now, and again, we saw that here. And I thought that the moves that the Lions made in the offseason, a lot of it was, we know the Lions are all set on, like, we have to win the division. That's first and foremost, we have to win the division. Dan Campbell constantly talks about that. And I think when you looked at the NFC North just based on last season, like, that was Green Bay. Green Bay was the top tier competitor. Now, the NFC North played really well this year, but it was all about Green Bay. And I think a lot of the moves that we made this offseason were directly for, like, we have to deal with Green Bay. From Kevin Zeitler and the pressure that we gave up last season when we lost to Green Bay, when we fell behind by multiple scores, we had to throw the ball, and we were struggling to deal with Kenny Clark and the piece the Carl Brook, the guys that they have on the interior, as well as the back end, the Carlton Davis, the Teron Arnold, the Amik Robertson, the ability to play man coverage where they completed 50% of their passes last season. We played man coverage versus zone where they were almost perfect passing the ball when they beat us last season. But we couldn't live in that type of coverage because we just did not have the personnel for that. But this year we do. Now, that doesn't mean that the Lions went out in this game and played man coverage every play. They may have played a majority zone coverage, but when they did play man, a lot of good things happened. Now, sometimes you get beat, but you force contested passes, you throw off timing, you make them make good throws, make them make contested grabs, and eventually you're going to get things that are going to swing your way. You make them work for things like that, where it's not just easy pitch and catch, rhythm, hey, we have good pass protection, because as we've seen, and this was a concern, of course, we lost Hutchinson. Hey, we got to go get somebody. We got to get somebody in here. Well, shout out to the Lions, because this shows to me the depth of the team in terms of not like, hey, our edge rusher position is super deep, because Davenport's also hurt, and because Wingo's also hurt, and because you're completely depleted at that position. But it shows the depth of the team as a three-phase team. A team that outplayed Green Bay today on special teams, which was kind of expected because Green Bay had struggled on special teams. They missed a field goal. We constantly felt like we were winning the field position battle. Jack Fox punted for from his own end zone and put it back at Green Bay's own 26-yard line with a fair catch. It's ridiculous. That guy's ridiculous. You won on special teams. You won the field position battle. Your pass coverage has been top 5, top 10 across all categories so far this season. You've improved so much there. Your red zone defense, you were better defensively, and then offensively, you still have the run game that you can lean on, and you were cleaner than the Packers were in this game with the bad elements. Because all I hear about, chat, I got to be honest, all I hear about y'all is, hey, that rain, Goff's small hands, he might throw the ball to us, that kind of thing. But it's always about how it could hurt the Lions. It's never about like, wait, well, how could it hurt the Packers? That's never a discussion, and maybe that's on me. Maybe I got to bring that up. Maybe I should start bringing that up. But it's always about how it's going to hurt us, and that makes sense because we're Lions fans, but I hear that from other fans, how it's going to hurt us. They bring the weather up to me. But maybe I should be flipping around like, hold up, how is it going to hurt y'all? Because it looked a lot worse for Green Bay with that weather than it did for us. And a lot of that was the way that the Lions were able to play in this game by getting up 24-3, by handling business like they did at the beginning of this game. Because you think Green Bay scored first. They went down the field, they got a field goal. But the Lions responded with the touchdown. They end up going up 24-3 in this game. They start the second half for what I feels like the third straight week, at least going back to the Dallas game. I don't know if this is true or not, but the Lions have been going out there and putting points up in the third quarter. Right? This has been a conversation going back to last year, like, ooh, third quarter. But they are kind of just like, no. Like, hey, we're getting the ball. It's a 14-point game. Could there be a comeback? No, there's no comeback. We're going up 21. And that's what the Lions have been doing, recently. So that's been beautiful as well. But when you go through this, man, the Lions just did all the little things better. The only thing that we didn't do better than Green Bay in this game, the little things, was talking after the play. And that's Amik Robertson, who got himself pulled out of the game. And also the back-to-back flags on Branch, which I thought was kind of whack. Whatever, on the 15-yard penalty, that's fine. But then he throw Mike out of the game. And then you had 15 more on top of that. It's absolutely nuts. And that was the only reason that drive even really happened. They ended up missing the field goal anyway because, again, special teams, a little bit of an issue there. The Lions are a three-phase team, and to me, this game absolutely showed that. I really wasn't that nervous coming into this game, and mainly that wasn't because of offense. A lot of times this year, I feel like that's because of offense. When we went into Minnesota, and maybe that's just because of what they're known for, we played Minnesota, I wasn't nervous. I felt very confident. Because, I saw us play Minnesota. I saw Ben Johnson. He had a great plan. He protected the Goff. He got the ball out of his hands. Goff was ridiculously efficient. He had some of his best games this season against Minnesota. So I'm not really worried about all this blitzing. I mean, it's just coverage is coverage at the end of the day. We found a way to handle that. And we played Minnesota, and we did exactly what we did to them last season. But this game was actually about defense, which is why I said 24-17. It's why I didn't have us getting the over, and usually I don't. But it's why I didn't have us scoring a ton of points because I believed in our defense. I believed in our defense in this game because of all those moves that we've made. And I think it absolutely showed up in this game. That speaks to the three-phase ability of the Lions can win different ways, but at the same time, they also win all three ways. They win through special teams, offense, and defense, all playing well and having just a really sound unit on all those sides. And again, not constantly beating themselves. I mean, they had 5 penalties, 2 of which were on Branch. 1 was on Amik after the play on 4th down, which can't do that because it would have been 4th down. That kept the drive alive. Another one was like a illegal motion. I think it was something like that where we had 2 guys moving at the same time before the snap and we tried to use a little motion with Brock Wright. Like, we weren't really beating ourselves in this game. So when you roll through this game and you go right from jump, right, they go down, they get the field goal to get things started. And, they had a nice little craftiness on this first drive, right? They had a little sneak for Kraft that kept the drive alive rather than giving it to Jordan Love. I think that was on a 4th down and short. But I liked how the Lions played up to that. And I felt like in this game, we talked about in the preview, if you watched it, I appreciate you, how I thought on first down we'd see a lot of single high safety, but we specifically brought up how Houston seemingly played a lot of show coverage, a lot of 2 deep, a lot of cover 4. We talked about that a ton in that video. So much cover 4 discussion, so much 2 deep discussion, which was, hey, look, they're a team that wants to run double verts. They have double vertical routes on one side. They'll have an underneath passing attack on the other side. And when you watched Houston, who played them well, though they lost, they didn't give up the big play. They were like, keep it in front of us. We'll go 2 deep safeties. You're going to have to work for everything. And that's seemingly what the Lions' plan was a lot of this game. Like, hey, you're going to have to work for everything. The Lions did a great job of not giving up the big play. The one that could have been, which was a one-on-one, because we weren't in that look, Amik Robertson, Christian Watson, missed throw, but also kind of misplayed by the receiver as well. But we also had pressure on the play, which kind of led to that by who? Ali McNeil, who absolutely showed up in this game. Like, it was like, hey, you got to show up against these backup guards, or at least one backup guard in Jordan Morgan. Absolutely did that. But they kept things in front of them. They made Jordan Love work for everything. They didn't give him a bailout big play. And on top of that, they were like, hey, at some point, he might do something dumb. And that's exactly what he did. At some point, he made a bad decision late on the play, and Kirby Joseph, all that wingspan that we talked about when he came out of the draft, showed all of it there. Plus, a little wrinkle on that play to have Duracell show blitz at pre-snap, right, double A gap, then drop out. Typically, that's the end. Like, okay, you showed it, you dropped, he's dropping. and then go back and rush. He kind of delayed the blitz. That was beautiful because he's the guy that ended up getting pressure. And how many times, like just recalling it live, how many times do we see Jordan Love like, I got nowhere to throw the football? This play just continues to roll on and on because there's nowhere for me to go with the ball other than checking it down. And we saw twice Jordan Love was late to just check the ball down. We were just like, we're not giving you that big play, Love. We know you're a gunslinger. You want to make big plays. We're not even going to play the balance. You're going to have to check the ball down, and maybe you'll do something dumb, but that's how you're going to have to beat us. And that's what the Lions seemingly planned was a lot of this game, and it worked. But also on top of that, when they did get one-on-one opportunities, we covered it well. Amik did well over top. You know, the one, Rakestraw gave up the one reception where he had to step in on the slot fade. He covered it well. It was a really good grab. Carlton was excellent in those shot plays. Like, so we did a really nice job just making them earn everything. And twice on the same drive, Mrs. Watson comes back really late. Mrs. Watson, you know, the other one, he just completely misses Watson on the throw. One of them, he comes back really late to him, just dragging across the middle of the field. Like, we saw that multiple times. We did not let them just have the big play. So they go down, score on their first drive, right? But they end up only getting a field goal because they bring Amik Robertson on the blitz from the slot, which, again, all the red zone defense. Lions allowed the Packers to be, I think it was 1 of 4 in the red zone in this game, and the one was like the little touchdown where James Houston was in there. And, hey, we talk about this run defense, like, there's been some like, ooh, that's not great. I'm going to have to watch it back on the All-22, see what stands out there. It hasn't been phenomenal the last couple of weeks, no doubt. Tennessee had some success too. But I do think a lot of that as well as defensive end position because like on that touchdown play where James Houston just kind of got rocked and moved off the play by a tight end, that can have something to do with it because I still like our DBs and run support. We also lost Branch, which hurt there as well because Branch had to run stuff on the first drive. Then we lost Branch and he was no longer in a spot to actually go out there and help us. Our cornerbacks had to be throwing the run support, which I like those guys too in run support as well. But you get him run off the play, they score the touchdown. So when we add this man, Za'Darius Smith, he's going to help us a lot there because that guy will absolutely play the run. Getting off field because you bring a Meek on a slot blitz, and it was excellent timing. And if you don't bring a Meek there, that's a touchdown. If it's one-on-one, it's a touchdown. Now, maybe you have help somewhere else, but his running back's going to be open. But because of the pressure, he throws it behind the running back. He doesn't make the grab on the play, and you get off the field. And that's what the Lions' red zones has to continue to be. It's not like a one-week thing. You go back to last year in the playoffs against the Rams, the Lions shut them down in the red zone. As soon as their safeties got healthy and they got their versatility back, they were a problem because you don't know who's blitzing. You don't know who's in coverage. And the Lions had the ability to disguise in terms of a couple things. Number one, they have all the playmakers at cornerback where they make everything contested. They got ball hawking cornerbacks. They have ball skills. And it's tough in contested situations when the field shrinks to get guys to make those plays one-on-one. The second thing on top of that, too, is you can blitz the slot and have a safety step over in man coverage because they're capable of doing that. And you don't become a liability in those spots. That's the big thing about man. You just can't have liabilities. You got guys that are just going to get cooked. You can't play man. It only takes one, to be honest, if they find the right one. If you have two, you got a real problem. And the Lions right now, they don't have that. And that's where the flexibility of the red zone absolutely shows up. It was a beautiful touchdown drive because you ran behind Monty. He was just running downhill. I love the outside zones to the right side of the offensive line in this game. I thought that found some success. I love the usage of the trap runs and wham runs. We saw multiple of those. I don't think any of them really popped. We had a couple medium gains in there on those. We talked about that in the preview too. I thought that would be useful, and we did that. I love seeing that schematically. The outside zones were, we had some misses, but we had a lot of good in there, and specifically running behind that right side offensive line where Zeitler at the point of attack, in the backside, Graham Glasgow can create a wall. I thought that found success, as we talked about as well in this game. But you're running the ball, and you end up getting stopped, and it's 4th and goal from the 5 because you try to run it all 3 downs. And you're watching it live, you're like, okay, they get him to jump off sides, but it's like you still probably aren't going to run the football. And the reason they needed them to go offside to go for it was because of the play design. And it's not like the cornerback even bit on the whip route. They ran the little whip route look with St. Brown where usually he plants outside, breaks back inside, and you're like, all right, Goff's going to fit that in tight window. We see that all the time. We've already seen it this year. But off of that, they fake the whip route and run the fade. And the ball's out before he even turns around to see it. The linebacker's coming on, a delayed rush there, so he's unblocked of the play. Ball placement's great. St. Brown makes a great play. Ridiculous strong hands, finishing through contact, finishing through the ground, toe tapping. He's been like this going back. I mean, the Dallas game, he had a nasty one. St. Brown just shows up in the red zone. He's like, I'm a number one. Throw me a fade in the red zone. All right? You think, oh, that's got to be like the Mike Evans. That's the Tim Pat. No, that's me. I'm the number one receiver. You throw that to me. And we're seeing that right now, how beautiful that is. But even though it didn't cook the corner because he actually played it pretty well, the play design there was great to kind of break one of your own tendencies. I absolutely love to see that. The field and Meek covers up Watson on a deep vertical shot. Again, they have an offensive penalty that kind of backs them up. You get back out there on offense. And look, this was a preview of what it could have been. If you had to play a game where you had to constantly drop back, now I don't think this would have continued to happen where Sewell, kind of falls down, he trips over his own guy, and he gives us a sack. But like third and medium, if you have to sit in downs where you have to throw, and they know you have to throw, this is not the team that you want to do that against. They are great up front, and I think one of the biggest things outside of just having Zeitler in the mix versus last year, it's also that you weren't down 14 like you were last year. It was like 6-20, just like that, or maybe it was 6-23, but you weren't in that spot. You didn't get to that spot, so you allowed yourself to kind of avoid that situation, especially with the conditions. That would have been a big problem, which is why it was such a big problem for the Packers in this game. That's the kind of thing you had to avoid, and that was kind of a preview of like, oh, if it becomes this, you're going to have a problem. So like we talked about in the preview, I want to see us throw the ball on first down. It kind of started out as, okay, maybe they're not going to throw it on first down because of weather. Maybe they're just not going to do that. I wanted to see it because I thought, hey, they're their least diverse on first down to coverage, a lot more single high looks, less blitzing, so you're getting a little more straightforward coverage. You'll get some simulated pressure, but not a ton there. Like, you can pass protect that and play action with the run fake if you're just willing to throw the ball aggressively on first down and run it on second and third. And ultimately, the next possession, that's basically what it turned into. So you go off the field there, but then again, the defense gets us off the field. The only reason this drive really became what it became is because the helmet to helmet, we should have been off the field before that, but because Aleem McNeil drew the holding call, another shot play that wasn't there, but Aleem then stops the screen play. Then they kind of go, they go with a little chunk underneath, and then they end up dropping the little out route pattern with Amik in coverage. It would have been close if he could have got there. But you end up getting him his field goal, and then the offense responds, which, like what I was saying, they did kind of just that, right? They go out there with the shot play, first down. Tampa 2 look, hit the deep dagger route to St. Brown, bam, first down. I thought some of that, having Quay Walker in the game, probably hurt him a little bit because he's now coming back, and these linebackers that have been out there had been seeing that, but we talked about attacking their linebackers in coverage, right? So I thought Laporte would be kind of a matchup piece. I think we saw that early. The middle of field, we said coming in, the middle of the field will be open if you throw the ball on first down. The play action plays, the middle of the field will be open. And what did we see? Laporte, a chunk play. St. Brown, chunk play. Then you check it out to Monty. The middle field is going to be open because of how their linebackers play. They are aggressive. They fly around, but change of direction is not fantastic. They're really going to sell it for the run. You can pry the middle of the field open. That's what he did. They went back-to-back, early downs, take your shot plays on play action. Then Al Robinson came through. Talked about it in the pregame today, maybe even a little to preview. Like, I thought Robinson would have multiple receptions. He only had one. But my goodness, it was a big one. It was 3rd and 1. He ran play action. He had to go win. And it's simple as that sometimes. If a team's playing man on 3rd and short, which most teams do, you have to just win. And I don't care what happens after that. And it's not Robinson's not a big run after catch guy. That's not really him, right? He's not a speedster. But what he does is he gets open, he creates separation. We know he's a big time route runner. He's got excellent body control and really good hands. And what did he do? Caught a first down. And that's what we need it for. We need him for spot plays like that. So without JMO for 2 games, you won both of them. And this was obviously big one. Without Hutch for 3 games, you won all 3 of them. These guys stepping up, man, that was such a big pickup for us. Obviously, Tim Patrick continues to be utilized, and we saw him make a really nice grab. I mean, I don't even think we dropped passes in this game, which is incredible. Some of that credit to Goff. Love sometimes it looks like he's throwing it too hard for the conditions. Like, they can't really adjust to that. Goff throws a very catchable ball. There's no doubt. That's a very catchable, very easy to react to, catchable type of football. And I'll be honest, I thought he was going to throw into the other team today. And it would have been okay. I thought he would. But a lot of that had to do with the game that we didn't have to play. Forced to throw it so much. We were able to get out of that so fast where it was like on our terms we're going to throw. On first down, we're going to throw. That's when we're going to throw the football. And Goff has done a great job of, and that's what I love about Goff is, in a game like this, while live, you're like, oh man, why didn't you try that? He doesn't just give it to you. You know what I mean? It's like, we're in a good spot. Don't give them the football. So it's like, okay, I'm just going to be very cautious. And even though sometimes it's not always that fun, it's like, that's what you need to win. He understands the moment of, what do we need to win here? Maybe I shouldn't try. There's no need. Just throw it away. He has that big pickup, right? Then we get Tim Patrick winning over the middle again. We find the run game a little bit. We have a negative run. We're forced to take a field goal. And then defensively, the pick 6 felt like it kind of ended the game. Well, it didn't end the game, but it really kind of flipped the entire control. And that was what we were talking about. Like, hey, first off, when they go under center, it's probably a play action shot play. Like, anytime, because he's injured, they're doing a lot more pistol. Anytime they go into center, they like to do play action shots. That's pretty much what they did every time. So that was a very easy tell coming into this game. But the second thing was, like, he's holding the ball a long time because he's not finding any of these shot plays. So he's holding the ball way too long. And then he almost did this twice. Brandon Joseph / Levi almost got a pick in the red zone when he kind of just threw it to nobody and it kind of flipped out. Like, this is still a great play by Kirby, but that interception where Alex shows and then he blitzes on the play, and then Kirby, obviously, the athletic play to get the pick, to get that kind of pressure there, and then back at it defensively, you end up getting the stop before half, and I think this is one of the most underrated plays of the game. I think it was Gibbs. He went like this, like for Khalif, and it was like, hey, don't block there. Don't get a block in the back. Don't stop this play. Be smart. Get out of the way. Let Khalif go, and he scores a touchdown, no flag. I think it was Amik Robertson, before half, to give up the big reception. I think it was called a catch. Instead of trying to work back to the football, because obviously you're trying to protect over top. You're trying to protect a big play. It extends way too long. The ball doesn't come out pretty, so it's pulled him back. Now he's retreating back for the ball, and you don't see the football. He's not in a spot to make a play on the ball. So instead of being aggressive, be like, I got to break this up, and potentially getting a flag, he kind of just let him catch it. And was like, all right, fine, catch it. You're in bounds. You have no timeouts. That kind of thing is what the Lions are doing so well situationally right now. That is so smart. It was such a smart play. It was like, all right, let him catch it. Don't let him get out of bounds. Let him catch it. I'm not going to get a flag. The one thing I can't do is have a flag because that's points. That stops the clock. Just let him catch it. He lets him catch it. It goes to half. I mean, that was such a little but big play at the same time. And then again, second half, and leave it there. The Lions just went out and were like, okay, we're gonna go end this football game. And it was like, hey, this is what the Lions have been doing. I mean, you can see from jump, like this is gonna be some long possessions. Both teams are trying to really run the football. And the Lions came out and said, okay, we're gonna break off of that. We're gonna go run fake, throw the backside screen, the little tunnel to Saint. Let's pick up 11 yards. Then we just leaned on the run, and now it was Gibbs' turn. It was a sweep run for 8 yards. It was the pulling offense 5. There's a lot of versatility. We saw the sweeps. We saw the traps. A lot of versatility. We had the weird illegal shift, but then you get the hold because Khalif Raymond beats Nixon off the line, and you end up scoring a touchdown there with Laporta on the check down. You know, you get this big zone run. You go back to the trap run, which, again, we talked about. We liked it coming in, so I love that they used that. They tried a wheel route, which we talked about. It was just incomplete. It was good cover. That was actually against man, but it was covered up. Talked about the wheel route, but that one was missed. It was incomplete. It was a little bit over his head. And then you came back and you're like, you know, let's just run it. It's 4th and 1. We knew we were going for it, and you punched it into the end zone where I don't know what Quay Walker was doing on the backside. He's probably got to get inside there, but it's only a yard. But Laporta kind of settles down, handles the block. Quay Walker doesn't get inside. Penei Sewell drives Preston Smith out of the play, which on our players to watch was like, hey, watch Preston Smith. He'll probably be a good barometer for how they're playing against the run. And we just rolled right behind him. It was like, just roll behind that dude. When Lions need a yard, go behind him. When it's 4th and 1 from, the 1 yard line, run behind Sewell. When we need a yard, run behind Sewell. And that's exactly what they did. And it wasn't the exact same play as the one that we talked about in the preview, which was kind of the delay setup where he takes the step back, allows the blocks to set and drive downhill and then shoot upfield. But it was somewhat similar in the sense that it was kind of like that inside zone, but off the backside, where everybody blocks down, you kind of slam right through that backside gap. Let everybody block down, slam through the backside gap. It was very similar to that same play, and I said that would be the Gibbs play, and he broke it for a touchdown. Scoring to start the third has been such a huge, thing for us. We get back up the field defensively, contesting passes, the Meeks all over it, contested. We're just not giving them the big play, making them work for it. We're winning the special teams battle, winning the field position battle. Lions 7-1. They're the best team in the NFL. But on top of that, this was huge for the division. To be up a game and a half on Green Bay, have both your division wins on the road. You are now undefeated on the road against Houston next, and then a couple of teams that you definitely should beat. I mean, every game is a challenge, but, you should. The point is hey, you go get Houston. I'm telling you, the NFC North need us to lose, and there's a chance that all of them lose except for us today. This could be the best week of the year so far for the Lions. This game, Monty did his thing. I thought this would be a Monty game. He had 73 yards. He kind of set the tone from jumps. Gives it his thing, though. Again, he's averaging probably over 6 yards a carry, 11 for 65. I think that's over 6 yards a carry this game. Goff was ridiculously efficient. Again, they're playing the exact same game, it feels like, every week in a sense. Touchdown, only 1 sack this week. St. Brown, he was the guy we said that was going to eat, even though it's an easy prediction, but he absolutely did that because he was the guy that could go win one-on-one constantly. He did that. Not having Jair hurt them. We saw him beat Stokes a couple times. Campbell was all over the place, very similarly to what he did last year, too. He was all over the place against run. He set the tone early with an outside run where it's kind of sealed off on the edge, and he races over top, scrapes over top, short gain on the play. Tyrion made a nice stop. Carlton played his butt off in coverage, taking away the shot plays, contesting those things, driving underneath in a Tampa 2 look. These guys are playing some very smart football. And then Jordan Love on the other side. He was inefficient. He had an interception. They ran the ball well, but they were forced to get away from that, and I do think the defensive end position is going to help us for sure. So speaking of the defensive end position, let's just throw this in here quickly. According to Pro Football Talk, the Za'Darius Smith trade to Detroit is currently expected to happen tonight or tomorrow. Now, I guess this isn't officially official, but tonight or tomorrow we're going to hear that it's officially official, I guess. So if that is the case, and I'm checking on Adam Schefter, we haven't seen anything yet, and this is going to go down. I'll keep this short and sweet, though. I've been on Za'Darius for a while. That was the second video guy we did a video on. I think Za'Darius Smith is, to me, and guys that are realistically trade options, he is hands down the easiest to predict. This guy's going to move the needle. Arden Key, okay, I think he helps us. Jalari, he might make us better. I don't know. Muhammad played well last week. We didn't notice him as much this week, but he'll probably make us a little bit better. But I don't know if he really moves the needle, and that's why when I first watched him, I was like, okay, I like him, but I don't know that he's a needle mover yet. I don't know that he's there. He's had some good plays, and obviously has a lot of sacks, but he doesn't have all the pressures come along with it. but you got to watch the guys too. That's the big portion of it. But Za'Darius very clearly moves the needle. He plays the run. He's consistently a pressure piece year in, year out. He's consistently on the field, which is massive too. And he's under contract for the next 2 seasons. So not only do you get him this year, you get him next year on a very reasonable deal, depending on how the contract will work out. Over the cap says just over $1 million this year, just over $4 million next year. That's incredibly reasonable considering Marcus Davenport signed a 1-year, $6.5 million deal for this season that was spread through 2 years. So you can add the void on top of that too. You not only get consistent production, you get a guy that you can rely upon to be on the field, but you also then get a guy for 2 years, which hypothetically, you have your entire defense line set up for next year. Now, if you have to give up this year's draft pick, and it's your 4th round pick, right? I don't know. If you have to give up a draft pick this year, at least you can look at the roster and say, hey, we have our guys. Now we're just adding to that. We're adding kind of the next piece, but we don't need to feel like a plug-and-play guy because we have it. We have Za'Darius opposite of Hutchinson with Reeder and Aleem all under contract next season, and that is fantastic. What I like about Za'Darius, statistically this season, 24 pressures on a 12.5% pass rush to pressure rate. So on pass rush snaps, he's turning that into pressure 12.5% of the time. That's more than Calais Campbell, and also 4 sacks this season. The 32-year-old defensive end that's already played for 2 teams in the NFC North. You know, I'll save this for the video that we already did, and also when the trade goes down to do a full-on breakdown. Even like today, I went back and watched his Baltimore game. He had a sack before half today against the Chargers. He looks the same. He wins the same way every game. Like, he's very consistent. You know exactly what you're going to get as pass rusher, which is why I say he's a needle mover. He's not Aiden Hutchinson. He can't replace Aiden Hutchinson. But he plays the run. He plays with great energy and great fire. But at the same time, he's a very consistent winner as a pass rusher. You know exactly how he's going to win, and he can beat good offensive tackles. He can beat good offensive tackles to give you some flash wins, but he can dominate bad offensive tackles and backup offensive linemen. So, like today, when I went back to watch him against Rosengarten, I had watched him in multiple games before this, against Baltimore, he absolutely was cooking Rosengarten. It didn't seem like there was any answer for him. And what I like about him is multiple things. One, incredibly strong in the upper body, incredibly strong in the chest, heavy hands. He's explosive on contact. His transition of speed to power is incredibly effective. You can see some real walk back, a real knockback in those spots. He can also really drop his body weight and create good leverage into contact in those positions. I don't think he has the best leg drive for like interior offensive line work where that's consistent, but he can absolutely be used as a guy to stunt, crash inside, open up other guys on the outside. That's where he's found success. He carries good length, which is noticeable when you're talking about finishing on the quarterback, getting in passing lanes, or just kind of creating lockout from an offensive tackle. He carries really good length, and I think he actually uses extension really well. He looks longer than maybe he even is. I don't even know how long his arms are, but he uses good length. Great body control. You'll see in the way he kind of strings together like his smooth spin counter, but it's all kind of strung well because of his body control. He stays within himself, instinctively react to like jump sets. When they overset, he can go back inside or win towards the edge. He has really good body control and pace. He's got nice acceleration off the line. That's a real positive. He has some real gas. Like he can get going a little bit. He's not like Hutchinson, but he can get going, and he can go from stop to start with some pretty good acceleration there. Plays with good quarterback vision. You know, he's able to find right pathways to the quarterback constantly. Gets to run. You get really good timing at the snap count to react, to get upfield. He's not like the most agile or shifty pass rusher, but he just plays with really nice body control. Where he's constantly under control, you get really nice slither moves, side steps, swim moves. Where it's just tough to get clean shots on him because it's very smooth. It's not out of control. There's very little wasted movement. I think he's a little bit heavy-footed in certain spots where he doesn't feel like super light on his toes in terms of like lateral change of direction. It's more about the body control and the pop that he brings to the table. So to me, like Za'Darius he's not exactly Marcus Davenport, but he's a little bit closer to that kind of stylistically, which is why it's great opposite of Hutchinson. He already plays left defensive end most of the time, so it's also great because that's where Hutchinson was playing, so he'll plug right back into that role. But he isn't just a straight like Levi type of player. He does bring a little bit more to the table. He's definitely a power rusher, but he brings more to the table in the sense that he can kind of play opposite of Levi and hopefully Pascal when he gets back and help us in those spots. And to me, Za'Darius, again, he's the most clear and obvious needle mover in terms of like legitimate edge rushers that are available. Most obvious needle mover. Cost-wise, they won a good day 3 pick. They didn't really pay that much to get him. They had a day 3 pick swap, a couple of day 3 pick swaps, like 2 fifths for Za'Darius Smith, and then like a 6th and a 7th was the original trade when it actually went down when he was initially moved to Cleveland. He knows the NFC North well. He wants to play against these teams, and he kind of just know what you're going to get with this guy. So I like that he's a very stabilizing presence, and I think with trades, that's not always the case. You kind of get like well, if we get him in, what if he can become this? You know exactly what you're getting out of Za'Darius, and he is, to me, the most clear-cut piece in that sense. Now, I think you can add another piece on top of that, but that's what he is. So I'm going to leave that there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I will see you guys this week. We're going to be live on Bleach Report at 2 p.m. Eastern time talking about trade ideas. If the trade officially go down, we'll do a breakdown on it. So we've got a lot of things to talk about. Join me there, but I'll see you there. Lions, 7-1. Thank you, Brad, for watching, and I'm